All right, so with this video, we're going to be reacting to the mainstream headlines. We're going to be looking at the national publications and what they are actually saying in relation to NAR's settlement. So as we know, NAR settled or proposed settlement, that's very important, made a proposed settlement for $418 million to squash the beef and the copycat lawsuits in relation to the commission lawsuits that have been happening. So we're going to look at the headlines, and it's through the headlines that we're going to look at opportunities to see what's actually true and what's actually not true. And this is very important because of two reasons. One, your clients are seeing this. Your buyers, your sellers, your everybody, they're sending you messages. I myself have received quite a few DMs already, a few texts and some calls, and even people that I interact with on the streets, not just random people. They don't know that I'm a real estate agent, if you will. But as an example, this morning I was doing cryotherapy, where you get into a chamber and you get blasted by negative 200 and something degrees. So essentially it's to help with inflammation and all that stuff. Well, the person that was freezing me, that's there while I'm in the chamber, she brought it up, right? So you're going to be asked about this. So number one, you need to understand what's being shared with them so you know what to share with them, right? So understanding what's wrong about this. So that's why we're going to go through the headlines. But two, there's changes that need to happen in your business. So we're going to be talking through these headlines a little bit and share just some practical tips that we as agents can deploy. But more importantly, we're going to address the public facing side, what your buyers, your sellers, your leads, your people that are seeing these headlines, because at this point, it's the number one trending topic at the current moment. And we already know that real estate agents are not the most favorable. It's not the most favorable profession in the eyes of the consumer. So the easiest way to validate this is to go to Google and put real estate agents are, and then watch what autofills. It's going to be a terrible, it's going to be a terrible experience. Just give me a heads up. Anyway, let's react to some headlines that are happening right now, what your clients are seeing, because again, you need to be informed. All right, so right off the top, all I did was I typed in Realtor and I typed in news, and then it just continues to populate. So the 6% commission on buying or selling a home is gone after Realtors Association agrees to seismic settlement. All right, well, that's not true. And forget the publication. I'm not going to necessarily name the publication here because there's all sides, regardless of political affiliation. They are, or where they lean, if you will. They don't view us in very, very favorable light anyway. So it doesn't matter if you're on the right, on the left, in the center, or in anywhere. It's not really going to help our cause. So the 6% commission on buying or selling a home is gone after Realtor Association agrees to seismic settlement. Well, there wasn't a steadfast 6% commission to begin with. So with buying or selling, well, on the buying, this is very misleading and leads to believe that with the buying side, you're paying 6%, and on the selling side, you're paying 6% as well. And then also it's implying that the 6% is a steadfast rule. So as we know in real estate, the commission has been negotiable. It's always been negotiable. So the easiest way to explain this is, well, think about how Redfin's model is. They weren't operating on a 6% commission. That's their model. They weren't operating on that. So anyway, right off the bat, we can tell that is wrong. And of course, you in your own business as real estate agents, there's been times, I would venture to guess, that you haven't received signed a listing agreement for 6%, and you've gone down, including some of you have gone higher. So yes, it's not set in stone. National Association of Realtors agrees to slash commissions to settle lawsuits. Well, that's not what the settlement says. It's not saying that, hey, we're going to be charging less. It is, as we know in the settlement that was proposed, is the compensation is moving off platform. Basically, it's moving off of the MLS. There's no requirement for a percentage or an amount to be disclosed on the MLS, or to be offering as a global blanket offer to anybody that logs into the MLS, aka buyers agents, that they're going to get compensated a certain amount. And that amount has always been up for debate. It could be 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, whatever percent it happens to be. It was essentially a blanket contract, if you will, that was offering a certain percentage. Now, the lawsuit, again, it's not saying that the association is saying, hey, now everybody has to charge less, because it never said how much you were supposed to charge anyway, right? So it was essentially what was agreed to, if you will, or what was proposed has been that the commission component, the compensation component, that is not going to be discussed on the MLS per se. So that's going to be moving off platform. So right there, again, that's not what happened. There's no agreement to slash commissions, because there's going to be many times where the commissions, regardless of what they happen to be, they're still going to be the same. So we'll get into that here shortly. Realtor Group will pay $418 million to settle commission lawsuits. Is poised to pay, but it's not certain that that's going to actually be the case. So also we want to keep in mind that this is not necessarily excluding from all other types of lawsuits right now. There's a pending lawsuit that NAR is still implicated in at the moment. That requires a response from NAR here by April, I want to say 20th or so. So keep that in mind. A major settlement could spell an end to 6% real estate commissions. Not necessarily the case. So it could, yes, there could be some additional. In fact, there will be commission compression, commission compression, but there's going to be agents that are going to secure a listing for 4%, 5%, 6%, 7%, 8%, whatever it happens to be. That's still going to continue to happen. So it's not necessarily that it's going to spell the end of a certain percentage, because that percentage was not fixed in stone. Realtors Group agrees to cut commissions on landmark $418 million settlement. Here's how it'll change home buying. So again, it's not saying that the settlement or the proposed settlement does not say that they're going to cut commissions. It's off of the MLS. That's not going to be a requirement there, along with some other requirements that we've talked about in other conversations as well, in other videos as well. 3 ways the realtor commission settlement affects people looking to buy and sell their homes. 3 ways the realtor commission. Well, it's not necessarily telling us too much on the headline. So you know what? I was about to mention you can read the publications that are putting this. So I was going to give them a shout out, but I agreed that I wasn't going to do that at the beginning. Anyway, realtors settlement to lower home sale costs, alter commission structure. What? Realtor settlement to lower home sale costs, alter commission structure. I feel like there's a little bit of a mix matching. Realtor settlement to lower home sale costs. That's not going to necessarily be the case. Again, you could very well, even when all of this is put into place or positioned to be put in place mid-July or so of this year, you're going to still have sellers that sell for the same percentage. Again, I hesitate to say a percentage because these folks are just going rampant with this whole 6%. Regardless if you were used to getting listings executed at 4%, at 5%, at 6%, 7%, 8%, and then whatever you wanted to offer from the buyer's agent side, or offer as compensation for the buyer agent side. That's what it would be. But you're still going to have that come August, come October, come next year, right? So you're still going to have that. So, which is exactly what's happening right now. So this whole settlement to lower home sale costs, that's not going to necessarily be the case. Zillow stock sinks, that's interesting, after realtor settlement paves way for lower commissions. That's interesting. I would have thought that it would have gone up, in my opinion. Interesting. I don't really have much to say about that. Realtors reach settlement that will change how Americans buy and sell homes. I can agree with that. Not as much as being led to believe per se, but I think it's going to provide a better, even though the outcome is going to, how can I say this? From the buyer side, I think that it is going to ultimately, it's going to hurt buyers, at least in the short term for sure, because there's a lot of confusion. There's going to be a lot of misinformation. It's going to essentially lead to a lot of buyers that are going to opt to go unrepresented because they don't necessarily understand what's going to happen. And also us agents, we're going to struggle to adjust as well. in some respects. So yeah, it will change it in that respect. And as far as selling, same thing. Something to keep in mind whenever you're selling a home or homeowners are selling, they're going to turn around and become buyers as well. So the same thing that they are potentially doing for the buyer side, they're going to look at and experience from the buyer side as well. So yeah, it is going to change how Americans are going um, to interact, if you will, or do transactions. And with more discussion about this compensation, the more discussion about commission, I see it as a good thing. But as far as the implications and ultimately how a buyer, specifically a consumer, a buyer that does not necessarily have as much of an income or income to purchase a property, I think that the home buying is becoming further out of reach. That's ultimately what's going to happen, in my opinion. And I think that the settlement actually hurts them more than folks that weren't necessarily struggling to own real estate or be part of the real estate conversation to begin with. What the National Association of Realtors settlement means. I have to go back. Actually, no, I'm not going to go back to this one because I am making a reaction video to a video that they just made. So I know what they're saying, and it's pretty egregious. All right, so okay. Home buying might be cheaper for millions soon as Realtor Association settles lawsuits. Well, no, I understand that that's what the whole suit was contingent upon. Well, the suit from the plaintiff side was contingent on several different things, but this point was made as a veil, as a to win in the court of public opinion, saying that, hey, with these price fixing or this antitrust issue that's happening with real estate agent commissions, they're inflating the home cost, the home price. That was what was being alleged. Now, them saying and really presenting that home buying is going to be cheaper for millions, that's I don't believe that that's going to be the case. I don't believe, even if real estate agents were not involved in the entire operation to begin with, if that was the case, like from today, there's no way to do this, but if that was the case, you're not going to see prices be 95%, 94%, 90%, whatever percentage you want to factor in terms of how we agents are impacting the value of homes or the sale of homes in terms of the actual it being cheaper. I don't necessarily be the case. So again, although there's no case study to be able to accomplish this, but if agents were not involved and commissions were not involved in a year, you would see a substantial drop in home values, and we know that that's not going to be the case. I don't even believe the plaintiffs and their attorneys would believe that as well. It's just a point that they were trying to make, and for this to be presented in the way that it is, that's not true. Video, how the Realtors Commission settlement could change real estate. I'll probably need to go back to that and see what they're saying. Will reduce its fees. Okay, well, I can already tell it's not right. The National Association of Realtors will reduce its fees and stop requiring that sellers pay both their broker and buyer's agent. No. Okay, so yeah, then I don't need to read it. It's already slanted towards the same things that we've already disproved. Birmingham Realtor weighs in on National Association of Realtors settlement, gives insight on how it will impact. Okay. Local realtor and broker weighs in on potential rule change for commission. Realtor settlement could bring seismic shift to housing market. Not from the home value that they keep saying. Not from the price of homes. That's not a point that's going to be proved out in the near future or in the long-term future. So if we could teleport 10 years from now and look back to see what happened with prices in relation to this moment, I firmly believe that it's not going to really be, it's not going to impact the housing market in the way that they're saying in terms of dropping the value of homes. So, I still think buyers are at a disadvantage more than ever. We're actually going backwards in time in something that was instilled or presented in the 1990s, where buyer agency was not a thing. So back then, you had a home seller and an agent that were really pretty much, it was 2-to-1 at that point from a buyer's perspective. So from a buyer, somebody that was purchasing a home, they would believe that the agent was actually going to help them and support them, even though that they were their fiduciary duty was to the actual seller. So a buyer in reality was better off just not communicating with the agent altogether. It was better off not being involved with the listing agent, because the listing agent's actually not working in the buyer's favor, it's working in the seller's favor. So they were coming in unrepresented and were in many ways not being treated as it's just being a detriment to them, being unrepresented, that is. Buying a home, realtor commissions could shrink after legal settlement. Yeah, that could potentially be the case in terms of some agents. The commissions overall, yeah, there's going to be commission compression, no question. Realtors reach settlement that will change how Americans buy and sell. This one that's already happened. Realtor fees are about to shrink. Necessarily think that that's going to be as much as they think. So lawsuits argue that NAR and brokerages kept buyers and sellers out of the negotiation process and led to overall housing costs. So yeah, that right there, that's not something that will be proved out over time. What the big realtor settlement means for home buyers and settlement: a landmark legal settlement between home sellers and the real estate industry could complicate negotiations. There's going to be more confusion, that's for sure, in the negotiations. It's going to make there's going to be a bit more conversation. So the houses, I can agree with that. It's going to make negotiations a little bit different. So think of it from the house to house perspective, right? So every house is going to be treated a little bit different. So one of the best things I can share with you in terms of just tips is, if you're not familiar with how commercial real estate is done, I encourage you to connect with a commercial real estate agent and ask them, hey, how do you do a transaction? How do you work with tenants that are looking to go into a space? That's going to tell you a lot about how this could potentially play out, because of when on the commercial side, if you're a commercial real estate agent, let me know in the comment section down below. In the commercial side, you are accustomed to negotiating the commission side in the letter of intent or in the offer itself, if you will. So again, residential agents that have no exposure to commercial real estate, connect with a commercial real estate agent and just get an understanding of how is real estate done in that side of real estate, because it's going to really help you understand a bit more of what is coming down the pike most likely. Realtor settlement eliminates standard 6%. Well, it's not a standard 6% commission, and it certainly doesn't eliminate that, as mentioned before. There's going to continue to be 6% commission. There's going to continue to be 7% commission. There's going to continue to be 4% commission. So whatever commission is happening right now, it's not eliminating that. It is something that is going to continue to occur. The big component here is that the compensation or the offer of compensation is not a blanket offer on the MLS any longer. So that compensation is going to go off platform, if you will. And how that's going to look like is going to still be different. So remember, you as a real estate agent, when you're working with buyers, you are now looking at getting the compensation directly from them. If that's something you've been able to do from beginning, just as a heads up, in offering to do a flat fee or a percentage-based agreement with the buyer. Now, another way that we're looking at compensation is going and presenting that offer very much to the commercial side that I was speaking about. So if you're not familiar with commercial, again, get in contact with the commercial agent. You would be negotiating that into the offer as a seller concession, right? So we're purchasing this property, or we're looking to purchase this property. X amount we ask that the seller have a seller concession of X amount of money or X percentage of money for buyer agent compensation. So each offer would be on a case by case basis, if you will. So going back to the previous comment of it's going to complicate negotiations. Yeah, it's going to make negotiations a bit more case by case. So again, that second way is you're presenting offers and the seller concessions is still going to be a thing. And or the third way is more traditionally of how it's happening right now. The offer of compensation would come over from the listing side in the way that it's being done right now. So the listing agent would contract with a home seller at whatever percentage it happens to be, 4, 5, 6, 30%, whatever it is. Then they they select what percentage ends up going to the buyer's side in if they bring home a buyer. Now that percentage that was presented would be placed on the MLS, so buyers agents and everybody was aware of what that percentage was going to be. So as a quick reminder, commission has always been negotiable, so the 6% standard commission does not necessarily a thing. That is something that does happen, of course, but you have markets that are at 5%. You have markets, you have brokerages that were built on a model of doing listings at a flat fee. You have brokers that were built on a model of doing 1% listings. Whatever that happens to be, that was their model. So this whole notion of 6% being the standard, the fixed, and the collusion component that was being offered in the Sitzer Burnett and other commission lawsuits that have since happened, that's just not accurate. But anyway, wanted to react to what's happening right now in terms of the headlines. This is, again, your clients, your future buyers, your future sellers, your future everybody, like people that are actually out there that are not in the real estate industry, will be asking about this. So it's important to know what they're being shared from the mainstream media at the moment, so you can combat that. And hopefully I provided some nuggets here that will show you how to respond to them, and also brought a bit of clarity on what this actually means and what this doesn't mean for your personal business. All right, so let me know in the comment section down below what you think, and we will see you on the next one.